Hello, everybody, and welcome back to LT's Sweet Boxing Science, and welcome to the first live episode of Liam's Fight Night Picks. Delighted to get the show up and running on my own channel, and I'm joined by Dave from the Rope-A-Dope podcast. How are we doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. Thank you for having me on. Obviously, my partner isn't on just yet. He's took about 2.5 hours to get home. He's literally come through the door, so hopefully he jumps on. But it's an honour to be on your first show, mate. You come on ours. I call you the boxing guru, and I think we're going to do a bit of guru stuff going forward. But yeah, mate, thanks again. Can't wait.
Yeah, mate. No, great to have you on. Look, last weekend's boxing was action-packed, wasn't it? We'll just do a little touch on that quickly. Last weekend's boxing was action-packed. It obviously, Usyk proved why he will go down as a generational great, all-time great for me. Manny Pacquiao showed how poor Barrios is, and Bam is special. 5 consecutive championship fights in a row, stopping his opponent and making it look relatively easy as well. What was your highlight out of all of that?
Obviously, Usyk. It's a blue chip division, isn't it? It's a shame Bam and Usyk fought on the same weekend, because what Bam done at the weekend was special as well. I thought Cafu would give him some sort of trouble, but he was just in there to survive. And the towel came in, the 10th round stoppage. I thought it would go on earlier, but yeah, Usyk is people trying to find signs of him wilting. Here he is, the man's here.
Sorry, I'm late, lads.
Nah, you're all good, mate.
Took me 2.5 hours to do 10 stops. That's London for you.
Yeah, that's London.
Disaster. Left work at 5 o'clock. And it's 7:30. I've literally just run through the door to join you. Hope I ain't missed
Thank you.
much.
Appreciate you coming on, mate. Good to see you joining JFT, mate. You know you're always welcome on the channel. We'll get you on. I'm sure there'll be plenty of times you come and join us. But cheers for joining, mate. I was just saying to Dave, mate. Obviously, last weekend's boxing it lived up to expectations. Usyk proved why he's going to go down as an all-timer. Yeah. Barrios was possibly the first time a world champion started his reign with 2 draws. I mean, make it out what you will, and Bam just proving why he is a very special fighter down at the lower weights as well. What was your highlight quickly before we jump into this weekend?
Yeah, definitely. It was. As you know, I'm a massive fan of Bam. I absolutely love him. He's just a superstar for me. The question that I sort of was saying was, how long is it going to be before he's pound for pound number 1? And I don't think it's going to be that long. I really don't. He just does everything unbelievably. He's special, and he proved it. He's got his own little niches, and with things that he does, like we highlighted the pivot that he does, and everyone sort of highlighted. It's just amazing to her. And then you said with Usyk, you just saw a master at work. You just saw an absolute master at work, and he proved that he is an all-time great. He would mix it in any era, and he's just a special fighter. And not only that. We sort of spoke about like his way he conducts himself outside the ring. It's the whole package. It's he's got the lot. And I don't want. I just want him to go on forever. I said that to Dave. I just want to see him fight forever. He just everything he does. And every time I see him fight, I'm always amazed. And you just don't think he can do anything more special, and he does. So I end up watching all of his fights with my mouth wide open, like wow. So he's just great, mate. So they're my highlights. Barrios. Yeah, I don't know what to make of Barrios. I don't know whether he got caught up in the whole fighting a legend sort of thing and didn't perform. And but yeah, I was disappointed with him because I mean, all the build up to that whole fight as well. The way that Manny Pacquiao just came out of retirement after 4 years, world title shot. It was just the whole thing, and then Barrios just didn't live up to it to me. Didn't perform at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Jay, I'll slip you a tenner later for that comment. See, Sam's in the house as well. Cheers for joining, mate. And then there's no need, mate. There's absolutely no need for a comment like this. I think we'll kick him out of the chat. Anyway, boys, let's get into the action this weekend. Let's start with the fight I'm least intrigued by. I think a fighter I'm least intrigued by as well. Look, Claressa Shields is defending her heavyweight titles. She calls herself the GOAT. She spent a lot of money on a big chunky piece of jewellery with it on. I mean, for me, the GOAT is across the sea from us in Ireland in the form of Katie Taylor. Is anyone actually interested in this fight, if we're being honest?
Mate, I feel sorry for Claressa Shields, and I've said this on our podcast, and I think I've spoke to you before about it, Liam. I do feel sorry for her because, let's be totally honest, us in the UK have got a soft spot for Katie Taylor because we're UK based. Yes, I know there's bias with you being Irish and things like that. But if you nail it down, Claressa Shields' achievements when it comes to belts, Olympic gold medalist, she's got a backstory herself. she probably is the better boxer, if we're totally honest. What does Katie Taylor do better in the ring, with her feet, with her, shot selection, with her speed, with her angles? Clarissa's probably better. What lets her down, and it's probably not her fault, is the resume. It's the resume. Katie Taylor's resume kind of pisses all over Clarissa Shields, but that's not her fault because there's no one in her weight category to fight. I mean, we've seen this week, mate. She's calling out Layla Ali. Layla Ali is 47 years of age. She's been retired 15 years, but that's just to get clout, just to kind of keep her relevant. And she shouldn't be relevant because she's such a good boxer. Are people saying, oh, Baumgardner, Lauren Price, all these kind of names? Yeah, they're good names in terms of trying to get up there, but it's like 4 stone between them now. Do I care about this fight? Not particularly, because the level of opponent, Lani Daniels, is a career light heavyweight. She shouldn't be nowhere near Clarissa Shields. But am I interested in Clarissa Shields? Yeah, I am. Because now she's up at heavyweight, she's trying to do something. And if you go back and have a look at her last 2 fights, yes, again, cannon fodder if you like, but she's trying to get highlight reel moments. She's trying to knock girls out. She's only got 3 knockouts at the moment, so she's trying to do something. Dipped her toe in the PFL. So I do feel sorry for her in a little bit, mate. And that's why when you was doing the with Sam on Monday and Jay, and I tweeted out, I put a message about, does she need Jake Paul? Does Jake Paul need her, as in the missing piece of the puzzle? Because I think there is something there. She's a typical American. She's brash. She's loud. She's angry. The female Broner, as Dave calls her. I do like her. I think she is good for boxing. But this fight in particular, why he started first, I totally get it, mate. No one's going to be watching it. Nobody cares. Even though she's in Detroit, her own city, she'll probably put on a statement performance, but it'll be forgotten about. We'll be talking about Layla Ali going forward, mate, and that's probably the reality of it.
Yeah, I mean, this comment here, Dave, pretty much sums it up.
Yeah.
As good and talented as she is in the ring, it's really difficult to like Clarissa Shields, isn't it? And it comes back to Adrian Broner and fighters like that. Mayweather. Yeah. Why wasn't Mayweather liked? As good as their talents were, let's remove Broner from as good as his talents were conversation. But that sort of character, they just don't appeal to a wider audience, do they? And that's probably, as much as she's a downfall of being up in the higher weight classes where there isn't the strength and depth in female boxing, there's then a character as well. It just doesn't gel well, does it?
No, listen, I can't take away what she's achieved in her career. Listen, kudos to what she's done. She's an Olympic gold medalist. She's won multiple titles, whatnot. I struggle to like her, and that's why I called her the female Broner. I don't like. I'm not a massive fan of all the brashness and all that sort of stuff. So it irks me a little bit. But I can't take away from what she's achieved in the boxing. And now, what we're in, that's what we need to look at. But Jay's right. It is about the whole package, and. She sells herself very well. I've got to tell you, actually, without a backing of a Jake Paul and stuff like that, she does put herself out there. Now, she's always talking about, oh, I'm going to fight Keith Thurman, all silly little things that come out. But she does keep herself in the limelight, whether you like her or not. But talent-wise,
she's relevant. Sorry, mate. She keeps herself relevant, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does.
All she can do.
But yeah, going back to your first question, no one's really asked about this fight, and I sort of agree with Dave as well. It is, it's unfair. Because there is no talent, there is no the pool in women's boxing. You've got elite, and then you've got, next to nothing when it comes to. There's no in middle ground when it comes to women's division.
Bin women, we call them, don't we? Latvian bin women, if you like. What I mean? It is so, isn't it? There's no in between.
Look, there's no in between. So so it's hard to get up for her fights. And again, there's going to be no jeopardy in this fight for her on Saturday. So it's again, they say cannon fodder. It's going to be the same again.
Yeah, I think I know which way the three of us are going to go. So let's quickly give predictions for this heavyweight female fight. How do we see it going? Dave, I'll start with you at the top, mate. How do you see it going?
Shields by KO round 5, mate. As I said, that's the from this weekend for Clarissa. The positive I'm going to take out of it, that she's going to look for knockouts. She's not just going to be schooling girls and admiring her work and having a UD. She's going to look for the KO. So I think she'll stop on about 4 or 5.
I agree. I'm going to go for the KO in round 4.
Yeah, mate, it'll be Clarissa early. It will depend, does she want to get some rounds in or does she just want to take this opponent out and then go back to calling out whoever she's going to call out? That's exactly where we're going on.
Jay's on fire tonight, isn't he? He's great. I can't talk about hairlines. Look at me. But
I mean, if you haven't seen the video he's talking about, he's doing the rounds on social media. He's trying to do a bit of a brash call out whilst his hairline, like Jay said, is back south, should we say? But look, let's move on to the top rank card. We're going to talk about a couple of fights on here. We're going to start with Bruce Shishu Carrington taking on Mateus Haita. Look, this is a 12-rounder for a form of a WBO interim world title, which has been added at the last minute from what I can see. Look, Shushu is 15-0. He's incredibly impressive and has made Haita's 14-0, but there's levels in terms of what they've been in with. A bit similar to the main event, which we're going to come on to with as Shushu Carrington's only going in one direction, and this is his chance to sort of remind people of his boxing skills after kind of being involved in the Keyshawn Davis debacle, isn't it?
Is this WBO, Liam? Was it WBC interim?
WBC interim.
WBC, that's what I thought. Yeah, mate. Shushu Carrington that goes along with the Abdullah Masons of the world, the Muratellas, the Norman Juniors of Top Rank. They're the guys that've got all the young talent, and he's one of them. This African kid that they brought over from Namibia, don't get me wrong, he's ranked number 11, I think, at one of the sanctioning bodies. He's paying his fees, he's getting a shot. This was just like to me, this is a warm up for Stephen Fulton versus Shushu Carrington. I don't give this guy a chance, and that sounds disrespectful because he's in the top 15 for whatever it's worth, but we've seen him against not Sagawa when he fought the Uganda Sagawa. He was trying different things. It was a close fight. He was messing about. But 9 times out of 10, when you bring these African blokes over and they have got a record of 10 knockouts, 10 wins, etc., they get in the ring. And me and Dave spoke about it in the week, mate. They don't seem to have any fundamentals. It's just look for pure power, look for a knockout, look for a windmill, and that's it. Shushu's very slick. He's very accurate. He's getting very, very spiteful. He's too fast. This would be a bit like Chris Shields you spoke about there, mate. He's going to look for the knockout, look for a statement, rock the mic, Stephen Fulton, PBC, Top Rank, Philly versus Brooklyn. That's the only way I can see it going. It's a very, very easy fight. And that does sound disrespectful because it should be a hard fight for him going to be a number 1 contender. But I've seen a bit of Haita, mate. There's nothing there. A puncher's chance I'm going to give him. I think a lot of us have said, including yourself and Jay and Sam, it's only a matter of time before he becomes a world champion himself. He's getting better and better and better. And on Saturday night, it's one step closer, man.
Yeah, look, you're right, mate. The fact that this WBC interim has appeared on it in Fight Week, I think tells you everything you need to know. Uncle Bob's, as my ring light keeps falling, Uncle Bob having a good conversation and a good relationship with the governing bodies. This belt is irrelevant to this fight. Bruce Carrington would win this fight regardless of regardless of the belt being on it or not for me. But Dave, if he wins this, there's no going backwards. He's then in with the big boys, isn't he? And he needs to be given a full world title shot.
I said it in the week. I was a little bit underwhelmed with this fight. I was wanting him to be where you've just said now. I think that after Jay's off, he's classy, he's got me. But I was expecting Shushu Carrington after the last performance, because it was a good performance, a good third round stoppage. He showed a bit of spite after we sort of discussed a few lackluster performances where he wasn't really kicking on. He's got in his last fight. I thought this is it now. He's gone in there. He's done a good job on the guy, and let's do so. And so when this fight was announced, I was a little bit like, we're still here. We're still here. And I'm with Dave. I sort of mentioned it in the week. We've had with many of these guys when you come over, they've got great knockout records, and then you see them throw a jab, and you think, oh my God, they've never thrown a jab in their life. Their fundamentals are are not there at all. And then you start talking about bin men and stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying he's there, but I think that Shushu Carrington is going to show so much class that he's going to, that this guy is going to be bamboozled. And I don't expect much from him, mate, to be honest with you. I think Shushu is going to look good. And I want the same performance as his last fight. I want him to go in there with spite, sharp shooting, sitting down on his shots, and make a real statement. I don't want, like his previous fights went to points before. I don't want another sort of performance like that now where we're talking, is he ready again? I want him to be out there, make a statement, go for the stoppage, and like Dave likes to say, rock the mic. Go out there, start calling out names, and the next fight, although I wanted it now, the next fight has to be, like you said, for a world title, a name, a world-class name. It needs to be someone,
This is why, just quickly before you come in, Lee, this is why I just mentioned there in my gambit about Top Rank and PBC. Was it a couple of months ago? It wasn't obviously Al Heyman because no one can ever see him, but I think it was a CEO or somebody from Top Rank saying, going forward, we want to do our own bits and bats with PBC. Keep us together. Let Turkey do what he wants to do. So it kind of falls in well. It becomes the interim champion, the full champion, Stephen Fulton. Why not get it together? Why not get it together?
It makes sense, but
it does make sense. In reality, it probably won't happen. But
rarely do things that make sense. And we got a prediction from JE saying Shushu is going to get it done inside 5. I'll kick off with this one. I think he's going to do it early. I think within the first 3 rounds, he's not going to want to play with his food here, as we've spoken about with fighters doing before. He's going to want to make a statement and then say, Stephen Fulton, Nick Ball, etc., come on, let's get a fight on. Let's make a big fight. So I'm going with Shushu in 5. How about yourself, lads?
I'm going to go for Shushu in 3. Round 3 for me.
I might as well go 4. Depending on what this guy's chin like as well. He might have a rock solid chin. And if Shushu might get frustrated and just try and outbox him. I can't see it though, so I'm predicting a knockout. Yeah, I'll go for 4, boys.
Yeah, staying inside the Hulu Theatre inside of Madison Square Gardens. The main event is Xander Zayas taking on Jorge Garcia Perez for the vacant WBO world title at 154 pounds. Look, it's a great fight. Xander Zayas, well, I say it's a great fight. It's a great opportunity for Zayas. Look, as I'm saying here, he's 22 years old and he's ready to rule the world. Yes, it's a vacant world title, but everyone's got to start somewhere when it comes to picking up a world title. If he wins this belt and then goes on and unifies this division, no one's going to talk about the fact the first belt was a vacant one, are they? Look, I'm highly impressed by Zayas, and we know why he's getting this opportunity through something outside of his control, but he's here to maximise the moment, isn't he, on Saturday night, lads?
Definitely, mate. We champion Xander Zayas on our show big time, and I made a point on Monday. I called Diego Pacheco Xander Pacheco because if you watch the two fighters from their early days, they were like knockout artists. They were just getting in there, sparking out dudes. I know as well. Edgar Berlanga was on the kind of same trajectory, if you want. I think Xander Zayas had like 9 knockouts in 10 or 9 knockouts in 11, something like that. But if you watch him as he's kind of slowly stepping up, he's becoming an all-round boxer. He's not looking for the knockout. He's setting his feet properly. He's not rushing in. He's not getting caught with silly shots. He's setting traps. He looks very, very good. And that's what we saw Diego Pacheco at the weekend. People booed at his performance. I'm not sure what they were booing at. It was a first-class performance without the knockout. It was a B+. And Xander Zayas is doing exactly the same. As you said there, Liam, he's 22 years of age. He's getting an opportunity because Sebastian Fundora obviously gave Tim Tszyu, done him a favour, let him fight for a world title. So for a change, one of the sanctioning bodies did something right. They stripped him and they made number 1 versus number 2. And this Mexican kid, I've got to be honest, it's a box rec job, even though I'm a boxing hardcore. He's ranked number 2 in the rankings, so he's there for a reason, never been stopped. From what I've seen of him, mate, he comes forward, typical Mexican, heart on his sleeve, throws like fuck. But I think Xander Zayas is going to put on a bit of a boxing masterclass. I think this is what it's all leading up to. Is it going to be too early for him at the age of 22? Possibly, when you see the other champions in the division with Mertes Elliott and Fundora. But what annoys me, and me and David spoke about this, lads, is the promotion of him with Top Rank. I just spoke there about Shushu Carrington. You've got your Abdullah Masons, you've got Moratelli and Norman Juniors. They seem to be the cream of the crop, especially on social media as well with Top Rank. No one's talking about Xander Zayas. Is it because he stopped knocking dudes out? Possibly. But he's Puerto Rican. I know he's not based in New York, but Puerto Ricans are a bit like the Brits in terms of their support. They're quite hardcore. You see them in the crowd. They're all drinking beer, happy. You see the Japanese, they clap. The Saudis, they all do different things. He's got the support, but he hasn't got the mouthpiece. So when he does his business on Saturday night, I'm hoping, I know he's a nice guy, he's very humble, but again, he needs to rock the mic. He needs to make himself, relevant. He needs to be saying, right, Fundora, I'm the champ now. You ducked me, kind of make it a narrative. Yeah. There's not enough support for him, and he's a fantastic boxer, and he's getting better and better and better. And I think it's going to be a bit of a schooling, might be over the top, but I think it's going to be a first-class performance from him on Saturday night. And by the way, just before you cut in, Dave, George Garcia Perez, if you have a look at the CVs, his last win is probably the best out of the two of them. And it was a split decision against Charles Conwell. But he ain't no joke. But yeah, I'm waffling a bit there, boys. But for me, Xander Zayas could be the real deal,
Yeah, I mean, look, Jay's coming in here saying he thinks Zayas gets stopped and then following up with his hearing there's maybe a sickness going around his camp. I mean,
I hope not.
We hope that's not the case because, look, we want to see a fighter getting there 100% healthy. But especially as British fight fans, we know to be wary of an unheralded Mexican. We've seen them come over and destroy British fighters in recent years. Well, mainly matchroom fighters. I think Eddie Hearn still wakes up in cold sweats thinking about some of the Mexicans that have done damage to his boys. Look, you can't write off Perez. That's one thing I will say. This is, for everything we criticise with Shushu's opponent, Perez is, look, he's beaten Charles Cromwell last time out, so...
It was close, wasn't it? It was close.
Oh, yeah. It was a split decision. It was close. But everyone was talking about Zayas and Cromwell, weren't they? And now we're in the position where he's getting the opportunity. For a change, boxing's being done right. You beat the guy that's meant to fight the guy, you get the opportunity. Do
you think he's improved, Liam? Do you think Xander Zayas has improved from the early days? I could see a massive improvement, mate. He's just not this puncher anymore.
Yeah, he's not just the puncher anymore. He's become more of a boxer. However, by becoming more of a boxer, he's negated some of his best assets. And I suppose I give this question to you, Jay. It's weight classes apart. Anthony Joshua, when he got manufactured away from being the punching killer, so to speak, into more of a boxer, he came unstuck, didn't he? I'm not, look, it's on a very different level with Simon Zayas, but is there a danger that he's been manufactured into the perfect fighter and negating away from what his actual strengths are?
This is a possibility. He's so young at 22 years old, so his style can change again, and can make change a couple of times. We may see different aspects. I always look at it when I said it to Dave, where you see him come out in the first 10 fights, and they knock everyone out, and then they sort of change into a boxer. I see it as when you move up into world level, you may need to change up, during a fight. So I see it as So they try different things in fights leading up to it. So that one time they will choose to box, to sharpen their skills that way. So when you look at it, they're not an all-round polished boxer, and that's how I feel that Zayas has gone down, because yourself, if you come on the scene, you start knocking people out, and everyone's talking about you being a banger, and then all of a sudden you get into a fight where someone can take the power, someone puts it on you, and they seem to get lost. I'm going to use an example, William Crolla of recent. Everyone was talking about William Crolla being the Manchester of Golovkin, and then all of a sudden he's come up against a guy that can take his shots, and he doesn't know what to do. There's no sort of backup. So I sort of see, especially it being 22 years old, it becomes an overall sort of thing, a polished performance. So you have to adapt in fights. Sometimes you can go in there and you can make a fight of it and get the stoppage, depending on what. But sometimes you have to box. So I see it as that, and that's how I see it with Xander Zayas. And not only that, he's 22 years old. He's not going to start peaking till 26, 27. There's so much more still to come. So going on to Saturday night, I think this is going to be a tough fight for him. I think it's going to be one of his toughest fights. Obviously it's a world title fight, so they're both going to be up for it. They may never get the shot. Zayas aside, the opponent may never get a shot again, and. This could be his one time. It could be life changing for him. And again, he's never been stopped, and he's a Mexican, as you said. I think that it's going to be a tough fight for him. I believe that Xander Zayas will come through it, but this is where I'm talking about where he would need to box, because if he was acting like he was in his first 10 fights and go straight at this Mexican, he could get caught out.
So I'm just laughing at a comment from Jay here, sticking up for the Crolla brothers. Obviously, knows Anthony, been in and around Anthony's camp with his brother.
I'm not slagging him. I'm just saying, he was the Manchester Golovkin 2 fights ago, and and this is what happens.
Look, tells you everything about recency bias and building fights up too quickly. But back to this fight, I'm worried about Zayas in this fight. He's 22. He's 22. He's young. He's moving. He's obviously moving at the pace we want to see a boxer move at. But this is a very dangerous fight. I think so. For me, we're looking at a split decision. I think, and it's either going to be one where we get a typical top-ranked fighter still wins the fight, or we get a bit of a surprise and we have to see the rematch later in the year. I'm going to lean towards Zayas, but I wouldn't at all be surprised if the Mexican comes over and wins it. How about you? We'll start with you, Dave, up the top. I thought Dave's, it's just confusing me, lads.
Oh, no, it is.
Dave, you going for?
I'm sticking to my guns, mate. I think he's improved so much. I understand what you're both saying as well. You do make fantastic points, but I think it's going to be his best night ever. I think he wins by UD, and I think he wins quite comfortably as well. I think the Mexican's going to get frustrated. I think he knows what's coming. I think he knows now to navigate his way out of the way. So what I said about setting his feet, he's not getting caught on the way in anymore. He's thinking about his work, so it's a big fight. As Dave says, a world title fight. They're both coming to win. I'm really up again, but there again, I've got bias with him as well. I'm a bit of a fan of Xander. So yeah, unanimous decision for me, mate. I think he might look very, very good on Saturday night.
I hope he does, mate. Sorry, Dave. I really hope he looks good and puts on a statement, but there's just something telling me.
If he doesn't, I'm going to use what Jay said. He was sick, like he just said about Crolla slipping. He was sick. That's why he lost.
That's what's going out, mate. You've got it saved already. Anyway, Dave.
But I'm going to lean towards Zayas, but I think it's going to be his toughest fight to date. I think this is where we're going to see the metal in him. I think this is where you bite down on your gum shot. I think he's going to have moments of that he's not experienced in the ring before, where he's going to be up against it. But I think his class will tell. I think that all these performances that he's done, these different type of ways he approached fights, I think it's all going to come to one, and he's going to put it all together. And I think he's going to win on points, but I think it's going to be a close one, and I think he's going to be tested here.
Yeah, look, we're all going for Zayas, but me and you, Dave, are slightly more on the fence, maybe a bit wary of what we see Mexican fighters do. But
yeah, we've been here before many times.
We saw one on the weekend. Sorry, mate, just to add to that, we saw one on the weekend with Brandon Figueroa and Joet Gonzalez. Brandon Figueroa going in as the favourite, you know, the guy's got all the skills, he's a better boxer, etc. But really, he lost that fight. Obviously, with PBC doing PBC things as they used to. I hope we don't see something like that when the home fighter is giving it and shouldn't have done. I don't think we will, but we saw that last weekend, didn't we, really?
This is the word for it. It's his gut check. It's that moment every fighter has where they either realise they've got it or they don't have it, they've got to come again. We're going to find out a lot about Zayas in victory and in defeat, regardless of what happens on Saturday. But look, we've covered America, we've covered Clarissa Shields, we covered this top-ranked card. There is only really one fight of real note on British shores this weekend, and it's down in Bournemouth at the Bournemouth International Centre. Ryan Garner and Reece Bellotti scrapping for the British, Commonwealth, and the European titles at super featherweight. It feels like it's been a while since we've had a proper good domestic matchup that you just know can't fail to deliver. And that's where I am with this one on Saturday night. Look, Garner, the Southampton lads, 17-0, European champion after beating Salvador Jimenez. Relatively comfortable, didn't he? I mean, it got lost in the Crocker Donovan controversy, didn't it, on the night? But he put on a bit of a masterclass in that fight to pick up the belt. And then you got Reece Bellotti. Look, when he lost to Ray Ford and was cast aside by Matchroom, everyone thought that's the end of his career. Yeah. Gets brought in to fight Liam Dillon last year for the British and Commonwealth. As the opponent, Eddie Hearn went to him, look, I'm going to bring you in because I've seen what you can do before. But our guys, Liam Dillon, ripped up the script at the Indigo, has gone on to beat Gomez Jr. and Levi Giles since then. Yeah. Look, you keep waiting for Bellotti to fall off again, but here he still is, having a bit of an Indian summer. First of all, lads, what do we make of Ryan Garner? Obviously, he's come through the right way, beat Archie Sharp, didn't he, on the Joyce Chisora card last year before moving into Jimenez. He's doing it the right way. He's got the European first, but if he picks up the British and Commonwealth, he's sort of ticking off all the boxes, isn't he?
I'm very impressed with Garner, and that was the fight that kind of nailed it for me. Archie Sharp went in as a favourite. I know he had problems outside the ring with he had a bit of a layoff. He had things going on with Queensbury, etc. He come as a favourite, and he was doing the shoulder rolling, the Nas style, hands at the bottom, showboating, trying to take the piss. Garner's gone there and gone, you're not taking the piss. I'm going to be on you like a cheap coat all night. Wouldn't leave him alone. The output was high. You see Archie Sharp fights, he likes to get you in the corner and then he pivots away. He was having so much trouble with Garner, just would not leave him alone. Nearly stopped him one stage and knocked his gum shield out. And I thought, who's this guy? Then you just said there about Jimenez for the European title, beat him up for the duration of the fight. Yeah. I like him, and he's a ticket seller as well. Obviously, going back and watching a bit of his fights, he brings a big crowd. So down there in Bournemouth, he's based on the South Coast. He will sell tickets. But what's the best way to describe him? I just mentioned about output. He's very front-footed. He does stalk, but a lot of it's educated. There's not enough noise about him. I know he's a domestic level fighter. Not people know him outside the mainstream, but he's one to watch. He possibly could be one of the best super featherweights in the UK. He's got that EBU belt now, boys. If he wins on Saturday night, he collects the British, opens doors for him in the ranking systems. I like Bellotti as well. This is what makes it a great fight because he's on that run. They're both in form, 50-50, one kind of 27, one at the back end of their career. Could go either way, but I really like what I'm seeing from the Piranha. He's a dangerous fighter. Does he carry the pop? No. Does he need to? No. But yeah, you're going as well, Liam. So this is an edge of your seat fight. I mean, the biggest fight of the weekend is obviously Zayas because it's world title. But if you're paying your money to go and watch Rock'em Sock'em and a bit of educated pressure and just a fantastic main event, this is the one.
Yeah, the absolute domestic barnstormer, as you touched on, going working for Counterpuncher then, as I did on the Wardley fight. So yeah, be good, mate. Looking forward to being ringside for it. It can't not deliver. Agree. I'm a big fan of Garner as well. I like the Archie Sharp fight. I was there that night. I liked the way he beat up Jimenez earlier this year. You've just mentioned you don't feel like he needs the power, Dave. I feel like that could be his issue in this fight because Reece Bellotti is going to sit on his chest and make it look like one of those old-fashioned phone booths that people of a certain age won't remember anymore on Saturday night. And if he hasn't got enough power to keep Bellotti off, I worry if he's going to be able to do enough. Because there's no doubting he's a very slick boxer, but he hasn't fought someone that can bring the intensity that we know Bellotti can keep bringing at this point of his career. That's where I'm at with it.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. And we've spoken about this in the week, myself and Dave. This is a phone box fight. You took the words right out of my mouth. This is going to be centre of the ring. There's not going to be a backward step made. It's going to be an all-action British title fight, and these are the British title fights that me and Dave wax lyrical about. Whenever there's one that you very rarely get a bad one. Now I'm sure Jay will put one up in the comments in a minute and shut that down. But yeah, I'm really looking forward. This is the fight of the weekend. Yes, Dan Desires is fighting for a world title, but for me, this is the fight of the weekend, and I am jealous that you're going. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I'm with you. I feel like if he doesn't get Brice Belotti's respect early on, I think it could be a real hard night's work, because I get the vibes of Brice Belotti as Maxi Hughes. I mean, that sort of, the Indian summer that he's sort of having, where, at the minute, every fight he goes into, you think he's going to lose. And all of a sudden he shocks you. I'm like that with Brice Belotti at the minute. It's almost like he's having a second career, like a second wind. And he's a danger, and he's going to be a danger on Saturday night. And this is what's going to make it a really exciting fight. Where we talk about biting down your gum shields, both of these guys are going to have to do that. But I do feel that if Garner doesn't earn respect early on, I think Brice Belotti is going to put his foot on the gas, and I think it's going to be a real tough fight. And again, it's a tough one to call this. This for me, this could go either way. Jay's put it there as a draw. I can see that. But this is going to be one that me and Dave said that this will be the first fight we talk about in our next show, because it'll be for me, it's going to be the best fight of the weekend. Two guys that got a lot of output, throw a lot of shots. Again, educated pressure, but there's not going to be a backward step here. There's not. It's just going to be center of the ring, and all action, mate. And I can't wait. And I'm jealous that you're going to be there. I'd love to be ringside for that.
It's a cracking matchup. This fight reminds me a lot of when Belotti went in against Liam Dillon last year for the British and Commonwealth belts. He was written off, wasn't he? Liam Dillon was seen. There was talks of Dillon and Garner fighting, wasn't there, at that point? And that's kind of Belotti. The more, as I said in my thing that was on the screen a minute ago, the more you write Belotti off and say he's going to drop off at some point. At this point in his career, he keeps going. We know what Jimmy Mack will say. He can fight for 15 rounds. He's a 15-round fighter, as he used to say about De Gale. He says it for all his fighters. I'm really on the fence with my prediction here, so I'm going to let you boys go first, and then I'll give mine at the end. So, how do we see this main event for the British Commonwealth and European title going from Bournemouth?
I'll go first on this one, Dave. I'm going to go for Brice Belotti. I think Brice Belotti is just going to have a little bit too much. And Dave was shocked when I said this the last time, but I think Brice Belotti is going to win in a really, really close points decision. Like Jay's gone there 114. I reckon it could be one round in it. I think it's going to be that close, but I think Brice Belotti is going to nick this. Yeah,
I'm going to go the other way. When I mentioned about does he need the power, what I meant by that was, you see somebody like William Zepeda, I'm not comparing the levels, but you look at the resume and you see all the knockouts and you think, cool, he's got some power. There's no one punch conclusive power there. It's accumulative. And with Ryan Garner on Saturday night, the punch is going to be accumulative. You spoke about Belotti being on the chest, which he will do, or will try to do. But if you go back and look at the Archie Sharp fight and the Jimenez fight, Ryan Garner is very underrated. You watch him; he's got the footwork where he's in and out. He may not allow it. He's got a massive gas tank, massive lung capacity. I think he's going to frustrate Belotti. Belotti will have his moments. I think he'll win his rounds, but I do think he'll get to him in the end. Now I'm going to go for points for Garner, but I can see the championship rounds, something you might not have seen Brice Belotti since the knockout to Ray Ford. I think he might tuck up and survive like Louis Edmondson did last week. I'm massive on Garner. I think he's better than what people give him credit for. Garner by unanimous decision points win, boys.
Fair enough. Compelling. Look, I'm going to go with Belotti as well. I just think that grit he's shown recently, where he's at in his career, he's just going to have enough again. And it's actually going to be a knockdown for me. I think there's going to be an exchange. There's going to be a flash knockdown for Garner, and that's going to be what, sways it on the cards. It's one of those fights without a knockdown, it's a draw. It's going to be that close. I hope we get to see it again. What I do hope is we don't get any silly head clashes early on that completely rob everyone of a good fight, which is a danger in this fight. But for me, I'm going to go with Belotti by an absolute razor-thin, tight points victory. One of those fights that whoever wins, the fans are going to be happy on Saturday night. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the fans win this in this fight.
But
I'm with you.
That brings to the end of this week's show. So only 4 fights to cover, but we're giving it a good bash. Lads, thank you very much for coming on the first live Liam's Fight Night picks over here on my new channel. Let the people know where they can follow you. If you're not following the boys for their Rope-a-Dope podcast, make sure you are. Fantastic content they bring out on a weekly basis. So what's your handles, boys? Where can people find your stuff?
Well, both our handles, anybody that can't see, that's blind to the back. Mine is at Rope-a-Dope Pod, and Dave, what is it, Dave? Dave H at Rope-a-Dope. On every week, 2 shows, a preview show and a review show on a Monday and a Thursday. Just bringing you content like yourself and Sam and Jay, the best we can. Love speaking about the sport. and we're not going to give it up. So yeah, jump in on YouTube, jump in on Spotify. It's all free. And thanks for having us on, Liam, and thanks for the shout out.
Yeah, thank you very much, mate. Yeah,
cheers, boys, and cheers for Jay and Sam and anyone else that's dropped in on a live. First one for me doing a live in the hot seat. It's different from when you're the guest, but they'll get better over time. Anyone that's coming across this live and hasn't subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell. There will be a bit of content coming from Bournemouth this weekend. I'll see what I can get done in and around fight night, but there'll be some more shorts coming. There'll be another episode next week. Absolutely. What does
that mean?
He is on fire today, isn't he?
Anyway, thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know if you agree with our predictions in the comment. Gents, thank you very much for coming on, and I'll see you